Hi, I'm Mrs. Volz, and I will be your geometry CPA teacher this year. Congratulations on successfully joining the Google Classroom and finding this video, even though school hasn't started yet. I really wanted to just put this out there so that on the day of class, when we start, some of this typical first day stuff can be out of the way, and you will have a chance to have seen my face without a mask on, and we can have a great start to the new year, and I can just kind of get into getting to know you at that point. So I'm going to go through some slides that I would typically go through on the first day of class. Starting with, on this screen, we have the textbook that I will hand out, I think. If I don't hand it out, we will sign in either way to the online version of the book, but it's called Big Ideas, Math for Geometry. Okay. This is my syllabus. You'd like to probably know how you can be in good shape in this class. It's a little pun for geometry. And I have each little component here in a various geometric shape so that we have our mindset ready to learn geometry. Okay, let's start with homework. Basically, this year things are going to be different. So a lot of the things on my syllabus, I'm going to go through them and just kind of explain whether it still applies or not. Homework, usually I check it at the beginning of class and needs to be completed on paper for 4 points. I think things are going to be different this year. If I assign homework for the afternoon portion of your day, it will be kept to a reasonable amount and it will probably be online. That said, it does need to be done on time, and my philosophy for homework is not going to change because of all the different ways we're going to have to work for hybrid learning. I really think it's important to do the practice at the time that it's assigned between that day and the next time I see you, or else you're not going to know what questions you had, and it's going to snowball if your understanding is lacking. So I would like you to make an attempt to do the practice problems and then come with questions ready to ask me. And questions are a good thing. There is no stupid question. I don't want you to sit and be confused. I want you to address any concerns you have with me. And I will try never to make anyone feel bad about having a question or not knowing how to do something. Okay. Tests and quizzes, I will announce in advance, or they will be part of the assignments that you're doing at home, most likely. Again, you got to do them on time. Even if we are at home, some of the time you need to make sure that you complete your work in a timely fashion. Okay. I am always available for questions and extra help, whether we are in school or whether we're home. If you're showing the effort to actually do the work and understand the geometry, then I really want to help you. If it's just a question of how you can get away with doing less work, that's not really what I'm talking about. So if you have not been putting in the time and effort throughout the quarter, and then at the very end of the quarter, you come to me for extra help, I'm going to be a little bit more skeptical about whether you're just trying to, backpedal and get more points for not doing any work. But those who are sincerely trying their best and want to learn, I will definitely be available for you for as much extra help as you need. Okay. Organization is going to be pretty important this year, and I really think you should have a section of a notebook or a dedicated notebook to write down notes when you are watching lessons, whether it's in class or on a video, taking notes on vocabulary, examples by hand. And I'm kind of excited about this, that this year we're really going to be getting back to the students taking more initiative for their learning, because when you write things down, it really helps embed it in your brain. So I am going to always recommend that you have a notebook, even with your, Chromebook or computer on, that you be jotting things down for yourself to remember, because it is so much easier to just open up and flip pages, but it has to be your own paper. I'm not going to be doing handouts this year, at least at the beginning of the year. So anything that you want, to preserve, you're going to have to write it on your own paper. Okay. So some of this doesn't apply in the organization section. Making up work, whether you missed class or whatever happened, that's your responsibility. It will all be posted on the Google Classroom. I try to organize my Google Classroom with a daily post, just one post per class period. In this case, Since we're meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays, depending on which cohort you're in, I'm going to consider those class meetings. There may also be a separate post for your virtual Mondays. All right, so you'll get 2 posts per week from me for geometry, and each one will be labeled with a clear indication of what day it was, so that you can always go back if, let's say, you're looking at your scores in Aspen and there's something missing and you want to figure out what it was. I will try to make sure that my little indicators in the grade book point you specifically to what it was in the Google Classroom that you need to go back and do. Okay. So please just ask if you have any questions. All right. In class, we try to respect each other. We're going to have to respect the rules that are in place this year for staying, safely distant from each other and not using each other's supplies, or there'll be cleaning going on. We need to respect each other's opinions, whether people are real nervous or whether they're not. We're going to just say it is what it is, and everybody needs to be respectful to each other. Okay. So definitely bring to class a notebook and something to write with. The textbook, not so sure you're going to have to bring that to class. I think if I give you one, you're going to keep it at home. A calculator would be helpful, your own calculator, because I can't really be passing out calculators and then worrying about cleaning them, keeping them sedentary. So bring your own calculator if that's helpful to you. And let's keep distractions to a minimum. I know you're going to have a Chromebook open at least, or using a computer, but try to keep all the other tabs, shut down. Games, social media, stay on task during class, and you will do as well as you can. Okay. So basically, I would usually hand out this sheet of expectations that goes over everything I just said, and then have you bring it home and have your parents sign it. But we're just going to go on the honor system this year because less paper. And one thing I would like to address in terms of homework. Now, I want you to be sensitive to, how do I ask you to complete the homework? Is it an online assignment where you're just clicking and answering the questions on the screen and then submitting at the end? That's how you'll do it. Read directions on the Google Classroom. You can't go wrong if you read the directions, okay? If you're doing homework on paper, and some of you may even want to be showing work on paper even if you're working on the screen, sometimes I might ask you to show your work on paper and take a picture of that and upload it to the assignment, and that's how you will submit your work, because it's just easier for you to write on paper in some cases, and it's easier for me to check that you've really done it, well. In those cases where you're writing on paper, I just want to show you these 3 exhibits that describe what I'm looking for. Exhibit A is usually what you find in the back of the textbook as answers to the questions, just answers, right? So if you are doing page 6, 19 through 41 odd, and this is what you turn in, that's basically just copying the answers out of the back of the book. That is not going to be given credit. That there are a very few select cases where I could see that there's not a lot of work to show. And in those cases, I'm reasonable. I understand. You wrote down the answer. It wasn't too difficult. But in those cases, chances are I'm going to automate that process anyway. So when I need you to do your work on paper, it's probably because we need to show more work. So I'm going to be looking for something more like this, Exhibit C, where you write the number of the question, you write out the given information, you show any calculations that are to be done. This doesn't have much geometry on it, but then you circle your answer and you make it nice and clear and neat for me to read. Okay, that is what I would like to put forth as a model of good homework completion. Okay. Well, that's the basics of being in Mrs. Volz's class. Just say a few words about myself before I go. I have been teaching at Morris Knowles. I think this is my 22nd year. Most of the time I taught Algebra 1, various levels. I've taught some computer programming from the beginning, and now I teach mostly computer programming. But I still have this one geometry class. And in fact, I now request geometry because I've come to love it more than algebra, even though I taught algebra for so long. I think geometry is fun and it's useful. After teaching it, I look out at the world and architecture and things that I see, and I notice all of these ways that geometry fits into our world. So I hope that I'll be able to show you those things through the course of this year and that you'll get excited about it too. And I also want to say, if you're taking geometry between Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, don't worry, you're not going to forget algebra, because most of the problems that we do start with a diagram of some kind of geometric figure, but then they end up with algebraic expressions that get set up into equations and we still solve. So you're going to still get practice in geometry with your algebra, okay? That's one thing I also need to kind of warn you about. If your algebra is rusty, or you never really got certain aspects of algebra in the first place, that's where you could have a problem completing the geometry problem. In those cases, just please let me know that you're lost, that you don't remember something, and we will stop and we'll go over it. Or maybe I'll give you some extra instruction on the side, okay? But thank you for watching this video. I hope you have had a relaxing, restful, fun in some way summer, even though this is a very different kind of a time and different kind of a year than normal. And I'm excited to see you in school or see you on the Zoom meeting. And with that said, it'll be either September 1st, I'll see everybody either in person or on a Zoom meeting. So signing off till then.